How you doing, New Life family? This is Jervie Windom, lead pastor of Resonate Church in Texas City, Texas. And so we had an incredible, move of God in our midst that really had, like I said, not much to do with us. At least that's how I feel, because it wasn't because of our strategic planning or, really much effort. It was just a lot of God just opening doors. And I believe that Him just showing His sovereignty during this time. We had a couple come to our church, and they came after the first time they came. They wanted to join and be a part of Resonate. And literally, as we've been spending time with them, and they're in one of our discipleship groups, and we just have been spending time doing things with them in their community. We found out that just recently they feel very called to just sell their home. They have a camper, and to go to all of the RV communities around us and to be missionaries to those RV communities. So we're just finding God just opening so many incredible doors, things that we could not even think of. I never even thought of being a missionary to RV community until I met this couple. So if you think about all of the missional communities and possibilities around us, the things that we can't even think of, God's already thought of. So here's just a great example of the Lord just moving in a miraculous and powerful way right during a global pandemic. COVID-19 affected us the same way that it did many other churches throughout our country. Resonate basically went through a period where we were having services every day, just like every other church, having services every week, and doing things in our missional communities every day. And then we found ourselves being shut down, where we could only do services online. But during that time, it was a great time of partnership and collaboration, because we found that pastors in our community that were experiencing the same things began to kind of put our heads together and to see how we could support and serve our community and help one another. So one of the pastors literally allowed us to use his church, that he already had a studio set up there, and we were able to use that studio to broadcast our online service during that time. Some of the amazing things happened during that time. We literally got confirmation that there were soldiers in Afghanistan literally that were watching us online, which was amazing. And they were being encouraged and inspired by the message of the gospel through a little church in Texas City. And so even as we began to navigate through that, we found that many of the missional communities that we were in, I think we had 13 during that time, many of those missional communities were closed to us because of COVID-19. But because of the emphasis that the Lord blessed us to put on discipleship prior to all of the closings, we were able to contact people inside of those missional communities that were willing to be leaders and stand up and continue the work of what we were doing prior to COVID in those communities. So although the communities may have closed and we weren't able to go back into those communities, we still had leaders that were there that we were able to disciple via phone, via Zoom, and using other mediums to, disciple those leaders so that they can actually be missionaries inside of those communities. So during this time that we were shut down, and not having services on Sundays, we were still very active doing things in the community. And we found that it was inspiring during that time, because we actually began to experience other missional communities open during that time. People that we didn't even reach out to were reaching out to us saying, what can you do? How can you come in and help us develop some sort of missional community in our space? And so we were going into missional communities that we didn't even know were available or open to us during a time when we actually couldn't even have Sunday service at our own church. And so we saw that so much growth was happening during that time that by the time June came and we were able to begin having services again, if you look at all of our missional communities and discipleship groups, our church attendance during the week actually had doubled, and giving also has had more than doubled. So we were just truly amazed at how God used this time, that while we were outside of our church, just being the church, maybe not having church, but being the church, that God was using that time to really, work his plan in the lives of people. And the Holy Spirit was raising up leaders in our communities that right now, as we're more actively, we're having services again, and we're meeting in missional communities, and we're planning to go into our second church launch, neighborhood church here in Galveston. We're finding that during that time of global pandemic, when we weren't able to have services on Sunday, that the Holy Spirit was still moving and using what little bit of effort that we had, what little bit we had to give. God did much with that. And so we're just amazed. And I tell you, I just can't express enough how thankful we are for your prayers and for the prayers of all the people that have been praying for us during that time. So we have seen just the Lord do incredible things with what little bit we felt like we had to give. So this has been an amazing journey. I'm just watching God do incredible things. And the most important thing, I just have to add this, is that when we look at where we are right now, we can't point to ourselves. We can't point, it's not because of any of our strength. It's not because of our intellect, not because of our strategic planning, not because we figured it out or we knew what to do. This was strictly a move of God. People coming to Christ. I was able to baptize my daughter during this time. She gave her life to Christ. I was able to do my first sunrise baptism right here on Stewart Beach in Galveston. And we have a couple of more baptisms planned in the next coming months, because people saw her baptism and literally came to our church and said, I want to be baptized as well, because they saw her baptism online. So there's just so much that God is doing that has so little to do with us and so much to do with him, that I just want to tell you how inspired we are, just from God just showing us during this time that nothing changes. He is still sovereign, and our God is not quarantined.